All right, this is the main attraction here for a little while. Then we get Tommy, who'll be the main attraction after. Sorry, Bill. Dr. Wheeler joined the company a year ago or so now? 2 years ago? Wow, time has flown. We recruited him heavily. We're so fortunate to have him. Dr. Wheeler has been the nutritionist to 2 U.S. presidents. He's a PhD. He has helped many professional athletes individually and also organizations, consulting organizations like Green Bay Packers and the, is anyone around here that they would like? Utah Jazz. But, yeah, hey. He is he's driven NASCAR. The guy is a driver, professional racing driver for fun. The great thing about Dr. Bill is that when I have questions about a competitive product, instead of having to go out and do research, I usually call him. Because he has developed over 1,000 products. And many of our competitive products that are out there are products that he developed. So I'll send him an email and say, hey, do you know anything about this? And he goes, well, I happen to have developed that product. So he knows. Dr. Bill, have you ever had a more difficult product development challenge than Shakeology?
No, it's by far the most difficult.
Yeah, fantastic product. So you're fortunate to be able to hear from him, to learn from him today. I'm glad he was able to get out from behind all the really fabulous things that he's got going on behind him. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Bill Wheeler.
Thank you, Brett. I guess this is my time to get even with you, right? Well, good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. Thanks for coming out. Those of you that are expecting me to stand behind the lectern, I'm not going to do it. I tend to walk around. I don't give lectures anymore. But it's a pleasure to be here. Here's kind of where we're going to go this afternoon. I'm going to talk a little bit about what a Chief Science Officer does, give you an idea of what the company has invested in for the quality of products that you have. I'm going to talk a little bit about what I call the athlete in all of us. Because a lot of people will hear me and they'll say, well, so what if you worked with Michael Jordan? You know, so what if you worked with Wayne Gretzky? It doesn't relate to me. I'm going to talk about the athlete in all of us and how what I learned in athletes, professional athletes, applies to everybody. Then I'm going to talk about products. I'm going to talk about Shakeology. I'm going to talk about Tropical Shakeology and where it fits the vegan formula. I'm going to talk about something I'm not supposed to talk about called the Reset Program. A little bit about that, okay? And then E&E and some other products with time permitting. Well, first of all, let me say, as Brett introduced me, I'm a professional race car driver by training. I just had to get a second profession to pay for the first. And about 3 weeks ago, I got 8 laps at the Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona at 2 o'clock in the morning. Of course, now Brett says, well, it was 2 o'clock in the morning. I said, well, where were you at 2 o'clock in the morning? Chief Science Officer for Beachbody. Responsibility ranges all the way from the manufacturing, from being at the manufacturers, to overseeing the quality control, quality assurance. For example, did you know that we have our own quality control, quality assurance inspectors in the plant when our product's manufactured? I'm over the testing of all incoming ingredients, and as you say with Shakeology, with 80-something ingredients, that is a challenge. So over that aspect of it, if there's a problem with manufacture, I'm there. So I have a manufacturing background. I'm also responsible for what I call classical product research and development. And that's interacting with Darren and Isabel on their projects and how we make their projects actually become projects that we sell, testing stability, testing potency, all of those kinds of things. I'm also responsible for the Medical Advisory Board. I answer about 1,500 to 1,800 questions from each of you a month, which keeps me pretty busy. Also interact internationally with any regulatory questions that may come as far as the product. So wide range of things that that we're responsible for, but that's the investment in the company. Somebody asked me the other day, well, do you test every single batch or lot of product? We test every single batch, not every single lot. A lot may be 10 batches. A batch is about 2,500 kilograms of Shakeology. We test every single batch. Is that required? No. Do you know that our products are formulated to contain 100% of label claim with a 2-year shelf life? Now what that means is we put overages in so that at the end of 2 years, 100% of that claim is going to be in the bag. You're going to say, well, we're going to eat, you're going to make it, we're going to receive it, we're going to use it in 6 months. That's right, we put a 2-year shelf life. Do all companies do that? No. By law, all we have to do is put 90% of what we claim. That's all we got to do. We're illegal. There's one company around in a lot of malls that formulates for only 60% of label claim. Now, why do they do that? Their philosophy is we probably won't get caught, and if we get caught, the fines will be less than the money we will make. And that's out there. And they still haven't gotten caught. So that kind of gives you an idea of the responsibility, the obligation that I and Beachbody take toward our products that everybody consumes. Not just Shakeology, but the bars, every single Beachbody product. Now, as I begin today, I've got one rule that I always begin with. And that is, don't worry about rats in the attic when you got elephants on the roof. You don't know how many rat questions I get. Now what I mean by that is, somebody will call me and say, oh, Dr. Wheeler, I can't decide whether I ought to be doing P90X, or Insanity, or I ought to be doing Turbo Fire, or Turbo Jam. And so what happens is, for months they don't do anything. Get involved. Or someone will say, oh, I can't start the program because I don't know if I ought to be drinking Dasani or filtered water, or you don't know how many questions. The big thing is, don't worry about rats in the attic when they got elephants on the roof. So if you ask a question today and that's the answer I give you, realize there's a bigger problem involved, okay? What I want to talk to you about is the professional athlete. I worked with a lot of them. One time I had 7 MVPs 1 year as clients. I had John Elway at Denver, Brett Favre but we won't talk about him much, at Green Bay. Had Michael Jordan coming back for basketball. I had Wayne Gretzky. I had Randy Johnson and Kurt Schilling when they were with the Arizona Diamondbacks. I had Dale Earnhardt Sr. and Michael Schumacher, World Formula One champion. So everybody likes to hear those stories. And I got really good seats in most of the venues. But I realized that the stress that a professional athlete's body takes in a week, the rest of us, it takes about 7 months to get that amount of stress. But what I found was my professional athletes could become my guinea pigs. I could make a dietary change in a professional athlete, and I could see differences in days. So they became my guinea pigs. Now, granted, one makes $9.9 million a year, but he doesn't like to be called a guinea pig, but again, the response time was there. And believe me, when your client is 6'8", 353 pounds, a shake better taste good. You don't want to get those kind of complaints. And so there's a lot of stories I'll interrelate today about that. But what I learned was all of us, under stress, ought to be treating our bodies like athletes. Doesn't matter if you're in here today or somebody you've been trying to recruit. Doesn't matter if it's a mom with 4 kids. Doesn't matter if it's an attorney that's 55 that's overweight. They're athletes. They ought to be treating their bodies like athletes. That's the exercise, that's the diet, that's consuming foods. So think in terms of everybody being an athlete. There's an athlete in all of us. And the same principles that athletes have learned, we apply. For example, Athletes were the first to use protein shakes. Athletes were the first to start eating like diabetics, 6 times a day. Those kinds of things we've learned in our athletes. So that's a key thing for us as far as the athlete and all of us. Now, I want to talk about nutrition for the athlete and all of us. I'll divert a little bit about a story I had was, this relates to rats in the attic and elephants on the roof. The Green Bay Packers had just signed a rookie from Miami for $11 million. When he signs a contract, he gets a check for $11 million. So I was supposed to work with him. So I'm talking with him, I won't use his name, and I said, well, how much water do you drink? I want to start out easy. He said, I drink 6 8-ounce glasses of water a day. Well, okay, I got a good one here. How much is that? He says it's 6 8-ounce glasses of water a day. And I had a problem. So I go down and buy a gallon of water, and I said, I want you to take this with you all week and only drink water out of this gallon. And when you come back, let's measure and see how much you have consumed. Now, we all know that shouldn't have lasted a week. So he comes back the following week, there's about 2 inches of water missing. And I said, how much water did you drink this week? He said, 6 8-ounce glasses every single day. All right. So there are 2 lessons from that. One is don't worry about rats when you got elephants on the roof. They need to be drinking that gallon. And secondly, you may have clients that are maybe not getting results that they think they should. Go through a checklist. Go through the simple things. You know, did you drink enough water? Did you skip a meal? That's one of the big things, skipping a meal. One of the things when I talk about high school athletes, and I talk with their parents, I said, don't let them skip a meal. But those kinds of things. I said, did you put the DVD in the DVD player? So start with the simple aspects of some of these, and they'll be good for you. Some things I want to point out when I have an opportunity to speak to groups is, and I talked about it this morning, is realize that in performance nutrition, that's what people want. About 5 years ago, we started seeing the trend. They knew whatever the nutrition was that they were having, they were not getting. So they wanted performance nutrition. They go down to the local mall store and they get this big box of stuff, right, that they don't need. But again, they wanted performance nutrition. Now I want to mention a couple things to you. First of all, let's talk about daily values. I get this question a lot. Oh my goodness, I see that Shakeology has 500 times the daily value for a particular vitamin. Or I see that Activate, or I see results in recovery. Well, here's what I want to point out to you. Realize that daily value or recommended daily allowance, by definition, the U.S. Department of Agriculture, is the minimum amount of a nutrient that will prevent a nutritional deficiency in a 12-year-old. That was established in 1978 when the 12-year-old was under 100 pounds. So it's not for optimum health, it's not for optimal performance, it's just to prevent a nutritional deficiency in a 12-year-old. So again, when you look at these values, and I'll get a lot of questions about, oh, is it going to be toxic? If I have 2 Shakeologies a day, is it going to be toxic? We literally take all of the Beachbody products, add them all together, and double the dosage to see if all of that together was going to cause a nutritional toxicity. The answer is no. We look at those kind of things. Even the women's formula, we figure on that. I don't take it myself, but we figured it in. Stress, for example. Stress increases your requirement for nutrients. You know, if you got more stress, you need more protein. Now, one thing that I will say to you is, not today, maybe in 5 years, maybe in 6 years, we'll know how to assess our nutritional status. For today, we're just guessing at it. And there are 2 terms you'll hear me use when it comes to that. One's called a WAG. That's a wild-ass guess. The second one, and a lot of you read that in the article when I was with Darren, is a SWAG. It's a scientific wild-ass guess. And what I'm going to say by that is, when I was teaching nutrition at Purdue, I had one question on the final exam that accounted for half the final exam. And that question was, what is the most important nutrient? And for 4 years, I got papers about water, vitamin A, protein. I even got one on air. The question, the correct answer was, what is the most important nutrient? It's the one missing. Think about it. We don't know which one's missing. I think we'll find out that we have different requirements at different times of the year, the amount of stress we're under, age, all those kind of things. So we end up with a product like Shakeology that's got 84 different ingredients. No wonder we're getting so good response, because it is such a complex formula. And as Brett said, it's the most complex I ever worked with. It is very, very challenging from that standpoint. So again, stress factors have a significant effect on it. Nutritional values of foods have changed. Do you know that spinach raised in the San Joaquin Valley of California in 1996 versus 1966 had only 60% of the vitamin A content? You know that an orange raised in the San Joaquin Valley of California in 1996 versus 1966 only had 1/3 of the vitamin C content. Now, why is that? Farmers are paid to harvest tons per acre, not nutrients per acre. So they do whatever it takes to increase volume. When you increase volume, you decrease nutritional values. Now, a lot of you will say, I buy organic. That's good. Doesn't mean you get any better nutritional value. You're just not getting any pesticides or herbicides. Okay. So you still have to worry. When's the last time you saw nutrition facts on a orange? None. So again, their practices have changed. Food processing. The convenience of going down and taking something frozen out of the grocery store, probably more nutritional value was washed down with the dirt than is in the product. So again, that's the challenge we have today, is that nutritional value of foods have changed. Well, let's talk about nutritional supplements. I like to highlight this too when I'm talking, because about every 3 years there's this big article that shows up in the Washington Post that says nutritional supplements are not regulated by the Food and Drug Administration. Well, they are regulated. They are regulated from a standpoint of the ingredients have to be recognized as safe, and they have to be manufactured in facilities that cause good manufacturing practices, regulated by the FDA. They are not approved by FDA, but they are regulated. There's certain guidelines that we have to follow. And that's a key part. Now with nutritional supplements, again, they become easy to use. They balance out our nutrients in a lot of cases, and they are regulated. So again, they're safe and easy to use. Now, I had one professional athlete that carried a briefcase around with him, suitcase around with him. It was a fishing tackle box. He'd take 500 tablets a day. Okay? He was a little weird. He just had to hear that it was good. Now, I'll give you another example. I worked with the 1996 U.S. decathlon team, of which Bruce Jenner was one of the coaches. So I get these 10 elite decathletes from the U.S. I'm talking about the elite. And I'm coaching them, I'm going through on what they ought to be taking. In the first week, they all come back and they hit the mark. The second week, they bring their gym bag back with all the supplements they're taking. The first guy comes in, he takes a bottle of prenatal vitamins and he puts them in front of him. And I said, why are you taking prenatal vitamins? He said, well, we saw Coach Jenner come in with prenatal vitamins and put them in his locker. All 10 had gotten prenatal vitamins. So I said, Bruce, why in the world are you telling the athletes to take prenatal vitamins? He said, what do you mean? He said, my wife Chris is pregnant. She asked me to stop by the pharmacy and pick up prenatal vitamins. I didn't want to leave them in the car, so I put them in my locker. There's a lot of that goes around too. Okay? So let's realize that. But again, we, in all of our manufacturing facilities, most of our manufacturing facilities have 3 and 4 different types of certification. Now why is that? 20 years ago, people were making dietary supplements with cement mixers in their garages. That was literally happening, but not today. We have the best set of manufacturers that exist. Okay. So that kind of gives you a general overview of general overview of a lot of different things. Some of the things I would highlight to you for the future. How many of you taking supplemental vitamin D? To ensure better. Men, women, children. The 400 IUs that we used to have a day, let me tell you how it was decided. There were 10 scientists that sat in a room in 1978, and for a whole week they debated how much vitamin D requirement should be. At the end of the week, each one of them took a piece of paper, wrote a number on it, they added up and divided by 10. Today we know that 2,000 IUs a day, 4,000 IUs a day are beneficial not only for bones, but for mood, anti-depression, skin, hair, teeth. That's something that's underrated. Omega-3 fatty acids, how many are taking fish oils? We've got a good one. Do you know there are 900 published human clinical trials worldwide on the benefits of omega-3 fish oils? There's not a single pharmaceutical that has that type of support. You know, there's a study done by the National Institutes of Health that appeared in, yes, the Washington Post. The headline was, Celebrex reduces osteoarthritis pain. The next last paragraph said, omega-3 fatty acids reduce osteoarthritis pain better than Celebrex. Well, when I looked at it, with Celebrex having the negative side effects of stroke, heart attacks, and death, fish oils don't have that. So again, they're also got to be taken at. Plus, it also improves mood. Do you know that in the last trimester of pregnancy, omega-3 fish oils improve the IQ of the fetus? True. Do you realize that if you take all the water out of the brain, about 40% of what's left is omega-3 fatty acids? Do you realize there's a study that was done in England 2 years ago with 80-something hyperactive teenagers? They were given 2 grams of fish oil a month for 30 days. At the beginning of the study, their attention span was 26. At the end, it was 84. Now, am I saying it's going to do that? No. If I had a child that had a learning disability, would I try it? Absolutely. Again, keep your eyes open to things coming along. We at Beachbody continually track these. See what's real and what's not real. There's a lot out there that's not real. And we try to sort it out. So that's kind of the general overview. Let's begin talking now about Shakeology, right? Absolutely the most complex formulation ever developed. Also probably the most expensive formulation ever developed. I remember when Carl hired me, he said, what do you think about it? I said, it's too expensive, he'll never sell it. Because we said, I went on that one. He hadn't considered it. 2 years into development. I would say the development of Shakeology has not been completed because Darren and Isabel continually probe, how can we make it better? How can we do better? What are some different things that we can do? Again, the ingredients are selected for quality and purity. The sourcing of ingredients is key. And of course, the low glycemic index. Now, that's all of those rolled into one give you a very, very powerful shake. I was asked this morning, can you take more than one Shakeology a day? Absolutely. I have 3 or 4, but I know where the source is. Okay? What I'm saying is, it is a well-balanced, healthy, and safe product. It's not only good for breakfast, but it's also a great post-workout protein supplement. Again, things that you can use with. Now, what I like to point out with it, with Shakeology, is we've got 3 ingredients that we actually source in Peru. That's sashi inchi, maca root, and yokan. Very few or no other companies source directly with the farmers. I'm talking about Darren, in a lot of cases, plus we have an agronomist, is actually at the farmers' fields, advising on how to improve their production, how to harvest better, how to, again, process it better so we get a better product. Now, sashi inchi is known as the Peruvian peanut. The question I'll get is, I'm allergic to peanuts, will this cause it? No. The Peruvian peanut happened to be the popular name they put on it. It grows above the ground on a vine that they harvest every 15 days. First used in herbal medicine in 54 BC, runs about 60% protein, high in omega-3 fatty acids, and it has a high digestibility rate. If you look at the drawings of the early Inca rulers, on their staff, the top of the staff will be the pod of a sacienche. It was very powerful in the culture. Maca root. Maca root, again, grows in the ground. It takes so much nutrient out of the soil, we have to let it rest for 9 years. In other words, 1 year harvest, 9 year nothing happened to the soil. It is a very powerful, nutrient-dense compound. Helps support energy and stamina, helps reduce anxiety, and I use the term helps balance hormones. A lot of times people will talk about hormones, how do we increase hormone levels? Maca is very unique in that it balances. If hormone levels tend to be too high, it brings them back to normal. If they're low, it takes it back to normal. Again, a true balancer, which is what the body needs. Yakan. Yakan is very sweet, has a very sweet taste to it. It's good for diabetics, has low glycemic index. It is a prebiotic and again supports digestive health. Now a lot of times people have reported that Shakeology has blank. Of course I can't repeat any of them like lower cholesterol. What herb in there does it? And my answer comes back, heck if I know. It's the combination. There is not a specific herb. It is that unique combination of all the herbs together. In fact, any of the benefits that you may see from Shakeology, I'm going to say it is the combination. And the answer comes back, well, I need to know. Well, let me use you an example. In 1853, the British Navy was about sunk because of a condition called scurvy, bleeding of the gums. Sailors were dying on a daily basis. A British naval surgeon observed if a sailor would consume 1 lime a day, they would not have scurvy. 1853. 1928, we discovered it was vitamin C. How many people's lives did it save over those years? Now, I don't think they used it with tequila. I think just one. But I am experimenting. But again, there's a lot of things that we will find out later, but we know they work. We know they have that benefit. But again, a lot of times when I'm speaking like this, I'll have somebody send me an email when they know I'm going to show up, and they say, oh, Dr. Wheeler, I hope that in your presentation you teach me everything there is to know about Shakeology. And I'd say, well, good luck. Okay? Because we're still learning. Again, it's a fascinating formula, it's a beneficial formula, it's a quality formula. But again, realize that combination of 84 ingredients is very, very unique. What if you had a mathematical equation that had 84 components? Can you imagine the complexity of it? And that's what we're dealing with. Okay, let's move on to the new one that just came out. Tropical Shakeology. Okay? How many of you tried it? Okay. What I would say to you, and I get a lot of questions again with this is a whole different formula. Has a lot of similarities, but don't say, well, why is it different from that? It's a standalone, different formulation based on the same principles. Does it have sacienche? Yes. Does it have maca? Yes. Does it have yucan? Yes. But it is a sprouted brown rice protein source. It is a vegan formula. And I'll talk a little bit in a few minutes about what we're calling the ultimate experience at Beachbody. And that's when I'll talk a little bit about the ultimate reset, which I'm not supposed to talk about. Yeah. Okay. Now I'll tell you, the thing was, those of you that went to Summit last year know that we had Tropical Shakeology ready to launch, and we didn't. We didn't because it wasn't right. We did not have the stability that we needed. There's no need to use us selling you a product that is not stable. Now, anybody other than Carl would say, go ahead and market it, we'll figure out as we go. He said, no, we're not going to market it. I know he's caught a lot of heat because it didn't come out. But he said it has to be right. So we put the time into making it right. And we actually improved it. It actually is better than the one that would have come out last June. The tropical flavor is what I call, it's a very delicate flavor. What I mean by that is, it takes up the flavor of whatever you put in it. You probably noticed that. If you put strawberries in it, it explodes the strawberry flavor. If you put bananas in it, it explodes the bananas. Okay? The question becomes, well, are you going to have a vanilla? Not right now. You're going to do it right. You can't have it without propylene glycol, otherwise known as antifreeze. It's a stable formula. It's a very solid formula. Individuals who may have had some challenges on Shakeology are not having challenges on this. Now, one of the big differences in it, let me flip to the next slide. You know, it's 160 calories. You notice that it's got 15 grams of protein from a protein blend that includes the sprouted brown rice, sashi-enchi. Again, this is a very complex formula as well. It's not a simple one. All day long, I used to copy formulas that had 8 and 10 ingredients. This one's 70. What most of you notice on this one is that there are no added synthetic vitamins and minerals versus current Shakeology. Are we testing for that? Absolutely. Will we give you a typical analysis? Absolutely. Will we guarantee that? No, because it will vary. Now, let me give you an example that came up the other day. Iodine. Iodine on this one's going to be about 23 micrograms per serving. Current one's 53, 54. Okay. We don't add any kelp to this. It happens to be iodine from natural sources that we include in there. This will have approximately, based on the first analyses, this will have about 80 milligrams of vitamin C. Current one has what, 300, 200, 150, something like that, because we're adding ascorbic acid. We know from this one primarily the vitamin C is coming from camu. But we will have a typical analysis for you to look at. And what we've done, again, as I talked earlier, every single blender of Tropical that's come out, we submit for complete nutritional profile. And we add those up. And as they change, we'll publish another typical analysis. But you will know basically what is in it. The reason we cannot guarantee it is by law, unless we add as a synthetic, we can't guarantee it. Okay? Just be square with it. Now, realize too that every single ingredient coming in comes into the manufacturer, is held in quarantine. It's tested for identity. Well, if the bag says sashi-enchi, does it contain sashi-enchi? Maybe, maybe not. We can actually take a sample and look at the thumbprint to be sure it's sashi-enchi. You know your lawn clippings and ginkgo biloba look the same as a powder? You know, there's some companies don't care. We do. So identity testing. It's tested to be free of pesticides, herbicides. It's tested free for heavy metal content. It's tested to have its active components. This is before it ever moves out of the quarantine area. Now imagine that times 70 ingredients. That's what happens every single day. Now also imagine every single blender. The blender again runs about 2,400 kilograms. Every single blender is tested. Well, what happens if it doesn't meet our specification? It's rejected. Do we reblend it, add stuff to it? No, it's rejected. That's how precise it has to be. And this again is all of the products, but I'm talking specifically about Tropical. I was there the first day the blender was made. I'll give you an example. First blender of Shakeology Tropical. 2,400 kilos, mixed it up and tasted it. It didn't taste right. We blended it 10 more minutes and it was right on the money. So there has to be somebody at the blender to taste it. So when you tell me that it tastes different, it might taste a little different because it's natural, but we do everything to keep it very, very specific. Now, if you wanted it to taste exactly the same every time, we'd make it synthetic. And I don't think you want any antifreeze in your diet. Okay. But that's kind of where we've done on this. Again, Darren and Isabel put a lot of work in this. There are a lot of things I could talk about. For example, it contains coconut nectar, sugar. Does not contain fructose. We have it currently out for glycemic index testing. It should be back within 2 weeks. Do I expect it to be higher than the current 24? No. We're testing. Coconut nectar sugar is the sugar source. A lot of quinoa in there. Again, all the ingredients that you've seen before, but we've grouped them into particular groupings of where they fit as far as their functionality with that. Again, I can't tell you how many hours that Isabel and Darren went back and forth on the formulation. And they're still going back and forth on it. They drive me crazy. Okay? In a good way, they're challenging me to be sure that it's absolutely the best it can be. Every single question is answered. So let's talk about it. It's vegan. Okay, it means it's no animal, no dairy. And where I'm going to start talking now is this is where it begins to come into the Ultimate Reset program. It's part of the program potentially. Again, it's 100% animal, it's cholesterol free, no added vitamins and minerals. The blends we talked about, the natural sweetener we talked about as coconut nectar. It contains no suma root, no blue-green algae, no xanthine gum, no guar gum. Konjac is the thickener that's used in there. I know this morning I got a question, well, it's not as thick as regular Shakeology. The reason for it is the konjac does not thicken as much as the guar gums. Suma root is coming out of the current formula in probably 3 months, and blue-green algae. Suma root because there is a slight possibility you've seen on the bag that it may give an anabolic test under certain drug screens for athletes. Blue-green algae because Canada does not like blue-green algae. And we're trying to get a formula that will go up there. The xanthine gum and the guar gum are coming out because we wanted to come with a natural thickening. It won't be as thick. Now, a little secret here is if you're not a true vegan, if you'll use regular milk in strawberry, it'll make a pudding for you. So if you want it thick, that makes it thick. But again, the thickening part is by the time you add a banana or some fruit or maybe some yogurt, it's thick enough. Again, don't try to compare it to the previous one. This is a standalone, different formulation. Yes?
One thing that really I would love to get explanation on is the natural flavors. What's the definition of
Okay.
natural flavors right here?
The natural flavors in this one happen to be natural oils from strawberry, natural oil from papaya, and natural oils from banana, as well as pineapple. In other words, when we talk about natural, we're talking about we use the essential oils that come from those, and in obtaining the oils, no propylene glycol can be used, which is what a lot of companies will do. And the reason that's a good question because a lot of companies, the whole definition with the FDA and the USDA on natural flavors is pretty broad. Now, it's really terrifying because there's some carcinogenic compounds that they can put in those that that they list as flow agents. It don't have to be claimed on the label. But all I can say is they never worked for Isabel. I mean, we get it down, we get a certificate analysis, and we analyze it to be sure that it's free of any of those kind of compounds. I mean, it's down to the nth degree. Our analytical bills run several $1 million a year in testing. So that's part of what you're buying when you buy Shakeology. So, you know, looking at the current chocolate and the vegan, you see a little bit difference in the calories. I'm not really worried about the 10 calories. It actually comes back 159.9 on vegan. If you make it with cold water or cold milk or cold almond milk, you'll burn about 5 calories. So that gets it closer. Total carbohydrates is very same. A little more fiber in the vegan. A lot of that comes from the sprouted chia. Sugars, again, about the same. Protein, a little less on the vegan, but not significantly. Again, it comes primarily from the sprouted whole grain rice. Again, 2 good protein sources. Now, this is what I wanted to kind of talk with you about. I think the vegan is, the Tropical is taking us over to the emphasis on a vegan lifestyle. There are some benefits. In general, the vegan lifestyle has a lower body mass index, less heart disease, less hypertension, type 2 diabetes, dementia, and cancer rates. Okay. Now, I'll tell you, before I did Ultimate Reset, I would have beef probably 5 days a week, 6 days a week, 7 days a week. We'll talk about my journey, what you find. Yes. Probably. There's less interference. But again, try it. Now, if you notice on the side of the bag on the Ultimate, on the Tropical, it talks about the future of whole food nutrition. Beachbody is committed to helping you put the world's most perfect whole food ingredients in a glass on your table at your fingertips to make eating healthy absolutely delicious. And as you see the new products coming out, you'll see how we're fine-tuning that more and more and more. The question about flavors. We're not coming out with vanilla. Why? Because we can't find one that doesn't have propylene glycol. Again, to be sure that it is healthy and as safe as possible. Now, this is the one I'm not supposed to talk about. So I'm not talking about it. It's been known by a number of names. The detox program, the cleanse program, the reset's what we settled on. It is by far the most phenomenal 21-day program I've ever experienced. It is a life changer. But you got to commit 21 days. And the thing about it is, I have a lot of people that hear about it, and they say, give me a kit, let me go home and do it. You can't. It takes somebody to instruct you through it who's been through it before. It is the most remarkable, phenomenal program I've ever seen. I went through 3 of the 21-day cleanses last year from February to August. And as Brett will tell you, the first one was rough. The first one was rough because we didn't know what was going to happen. The 15 of us that were on the beta test in the office really didn't know. It's like the first astronauts climbing in the space shuttle. We knew we could hit the switch and the rocket would go off. We didn't know where it was going. So we lived through it, and it was an experience of a life. In those 3 beta tests, we had 105 participants. Nobody dropped. Yet they went through a 21-day cleanse, of which I also told Carl it was impossible. So you can see my batting record with Carl. It's hard to describe. Week 1, basically, you give up meat. Week 2, you give up meat and dairy, so you're vegan weeks 2 and 3. There are supplements that go with it. You've got a systemic enzyme program. We've got an alkalizer, which is basically a greens drink. We've got something you add to your water to make it basic. We've got a detox fiber, but it doesn't give you diarrhea or gas. It's just simply fiber. And then we've got a prebiotic, probiotic for week 3. Now I'll tell you the experience is, at the beginning of the beta test 1, my cholesterol was 242. At the end it was 168. Second beta test, which I did about 60 days later, it went from 168 down to 119. It's now hovering right at 126. And that's typical of what we have seen somewhat. It can vary. I guess if Jonathan, our attorney, was here, it can vary by results, okay? But what I'm saying is what we did is, after the first beta test was over, we surprised everybody, and 30 days later we took their blood. They were off the program. No significant difference in cholesterol from the end to 30 days later. So it stayed down. I don't know why, but it does. Some other things that we've seen have been a lady who had eczema on the back of her hands for 2 years. It went away. Individuals who had food sensitivities. I know somebody was talking with me this morning. We had one participant that could not drink Shakeology because it caused bloating and gas. After the 21-day program, she no longer has any problems with it. Okay? One thing is you cannot exercise for these 21 days. I'll hear that. I'm going to tell you the good part of it now. I'm going to tell you the good part of it. Of the 105 on the first 3 beta tests, the only one who came close to dropping was because he was trying to do P90X and didn't tell us. You can't do it. You absolutely cannot exercise. Day 3, that's the reason we have everybody start on a Wednesday, so that days 3 and 4 are Saturday and Sunday. Friday afternoon, week 1, I go home at 7 o'clock, go to sleep, wake up at noon the next day. Your body needs to rest and repair as it's going through this cleansing. But then, day 7, energy level is up here like you've never had before. No caffeine, no stimulants, and it goes that way forever. And that's kind of the response we've seen with a lot of people. We've just finished a university clinical trial last week. We had the results back, confirm all of our observations, with one exception. Statistically significant increase in testosterone.
I'm sorry, Ashley.
And the reason I say that is, we also did a beta test with just elite athletes. Just elite athletes, high-end athletes, high-training athletes. The biggest problem they had was not training for 21 days. We brought the big gun in. We brought Isabel. Isabel says, you are addicted to training. Rest for 21 days. They did. They did the program. We have a semi-pro boxer who was part of that. After the cleanse, his coach says, I've never seen him so fast and quick. Individuals who were lifting weights, without us eliciting any response, talk about more reps. Okay. Bikers, bicyclists, I should say, reducing their circuit time by 2 minutes. As being concerned about going through a cleanse and being weak and losing my edge, they actually came back and were better. So that rest for 21 days, Tommy, was beneficial. Sometimes the body needs to rest and repair. So that's the reason in men, when we saw a 100-point increase in testosterone, the explanation. Women, it was more like 14 or 15. And I will say, I was telling someone this morning, I got embarrassed with the first beta test. As I was interviewing people, and the women would come in and talk about increased libido. I turned red, so I didn't. What I'm saying is, this takes you don't starve yourself. You don't go off food. You eat. In fact, week 1, you're probably going to say, I can't finish all the food. Week 2, you kind of stabilize. But week 3, you come back on food, so you're not starving. And what we do is, if you are hungry, have a green apple or some almonds. So we give you a safety net. Some other things. You have to drink distilled water. Does it make a difference? Absolutely. That's all I've had for the past, since last February, is distilled water. We have you add Himalayan salt to it for minerals. Again, I would come back and say it works. But it does take you to a very, very unique point in your life. It's part physical, it's part mental, it's a part emotional, and for some people it's even part spiritual. It takes you to a point where we had one person on the first beta test, he called me on his way to work, he said all the lights are brighter. Your sense of sight improves. Hearing, taste, smell, truly resets your body. We've had individuals who would not dare do P90X. After doing the reset, went into a workout program. They felt good about it. Sense of accomplishment. But again, you cannot do it by yourself. It takes that support group to come through this. Because there are things you're going to go through that you never expected. Now the good thing about it is, in the last beta test, we have used Shakeology Tropical as the breakfast. And that worked pretty good. We give you food choices or some suggestions. We've got a booklet, we've got DVDs, we've got tremendous on the website. They'll have support for the program. A whole task force of individuals to answer questions. It is just revolutionary. And again, some of the reports have been unusual. They've all been epidemiological, but they've changed a number of lives. We've got one individual in the office who he's lost how many pounds since being on that 67 or something. Now you will lose weight on this. You'll lose fat. First beta test, I lost 12 pounds. My second beta test, 8. So far, I've lost 57. But again, it's a matter of it reset. It's hard to describe. It resets. It resets your metabolism. It resets your taste for food. As I mentioned, as I began talking about reset, I used to have beef 5, 6, 7 days a week. Now I only eat meat about 2 days a week. I still have it, still enjoy it. Don't get scared of it. But I will tell you this. After the first beta test, I go down to Whole Foods and I'm going to buy me the biggest steak in there. Okay? I mean, I'm just drooling. And I stand in front of the fresh meat counter and I look at all those steaks and I get sick right here. One individual couldn't wait until it was over. He was going to go down and have Chinese food. Now he was sick. Again, your body readapts itself and you find that this vegan lifestyle, I'm not going to adapt it 100%, but I'm going to adapt a lot of it because it's healthy. I think Tropical Shakeology, and yeah, we do have a chocolate in the works later this year. But we're not going to release it till it's right. And some other aspects like that. But again, this is the ultimate reset. You're going to be hearing more and more and more. Yes? Well, what I would tell you is, nursing a pregnant, absolutely not. That's the answer I got to give you. Okay. And I would even give you if my wife were pregnant or nursing, and thank goodness she's not. No, I think because there is a calorie restriction. Women are 12 to 1,400 calories, men are 14 to 1,600, so that's the main reason. As far as children, I have to limit it to age 12. Again, it depends on the size of the child. Isabel would say age 15 to 16. Again, part of it is you've got to be very regimented on the food you consume. In other words, it can't be, I don't have my quinoa with me and my veggies, so I'm going to go have a hamburger. And what I would also say, and someone was talking with me earlier, was you got to have 21 days to devote to it. In other words, if you're traveling, do the cleanse when you're not traveling. Makes a big difference. So that's devote those 21 days to it. What I would say to you as well is a lot of the benefits is because the first time in a long time in your life, you're concentrating on you for 21 days. Think about it. You're thinking about everything there is to do about you. And I think that's part of the reset program. You will also find a significant improvement in concentration and focus. So those are all the benefits. I mean, we've had some wild ones. We've had one person that we didn't use as data had a 92-point drop in cholesterol. It was so wild we didn't use it. The doctor who monitored us, and we've had a physician monitor us on all the beta tests. The doctor who monitored us on the first beta test volunteered to be a participant on the second and third. And he's on a video, Dr. Farzan. Again, he would say, I've never seen anything drop cholesterol in 21 days like this. So, and when I go back over some things, when I would say like, Darren and I would go round and round on distilled water. And I said, it doesn't make a difference. He said it would. So I went with Darren, and it does. Just got to follow. So this is the Ultimate Reset program. I think it is going to be a barn burner. Every time I talk with anybody about it, they want it. And I will say, the energy it gives you, the freshness it gives you, the focus it gives you, you want it again. This is the way you work. Yes, sir.
So we beta test.
We're through with beta test. Well, talk about April. Talk about April. We'll have it out there. Again, I don't know of any company that has gone through 4 significant beta tests and 1 completed university trial with 50 individuals before products launched. And I'm rushing to get those results published in a scientific journal because those findings have never been reported. Well, when I started out, it was going to be once a year, probably around January. So I wanted to find out what happens if you did it again 60 days later. I would say probably twice a year. I would say January, February, because it's just gone through Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's. I would say in the fall, maybe September, October before school. Just kind of retune your body. I will tell you this, the second one is not as severe as the first one. The second one, I only napped in the afternoon. I didn't sleep for 15 hours. But again, it's always good to do that. Now what we do too is, there are some of the supplements that you take on the cleanse that you'll feel like continuing. For example, the systemic enzymes, the alkalizer, the detox helps you keep your body tuned up. So that's another part with it. Yes.
Did you have any vegans going into the study?
Yes.
If so, were they as fatigued as the non-vegans?
Yes. Vegans, non-vegans, vegetarians, all about the same. And we did a subjective interview. Have you had any headaches? Are you tired? And they all had these camcorders. So you go home and take pictures of yourself, but I really feel bad. Now we didn't have anybody, like on some cleanses, you go off food and you're just absolutely a bear. Nobody can live with you for days. This is not that bad. Although my executive assistant did keep me in my office one day. But because you are eating food, you're eating good food, you're eating clean food. I think that makes a difference.
And when you got the journal, before the journal was published, you had any
What, so that we can publish in a legitimate refereed scientific journal. It is going to be published, some of it's going to be published this summer in a scientific poster session. And we're thinking about maybe having the researcher at Summit. Yes?
Is B12 different from a plant than it is from an animal?
Is it what?
There's a difference between the B12 that comes from a plant.
Plant, not from animal,
and
yeah.
which comes from an animal.
Yes, it is.
Could you address that?
Well, we looked, you talking about the methoxycobalamin.
Yes.
Methoxycobalamin which is from animal. But what we've done with the plant is you've got the beta methoxy in plant, which is more available. So again, there's certain nutrients that are more available in plants than animals. There's certain nutrients that are in plants that if your gastrointestinal tract is set up for them, it'll actually produce B vitamins. And those kind of things. So again, this is a whole new area.
What about those who are not?
What about those who are in the military and have to work out every day?
That's going to be a problem. You're going to have 21 days when you don't work out. So that we know is if you try to work out during that 21 days, it will kill you. There's just not enough calories. Plus, your body is taking so much energy to cleanse itself. I mean, every single tissue in the body is cleansing itself. We know from the university trial, for example, the extracellular water, that is the water that is between cells, which is where the waste from the cells go, turns over faster with reset than not. So it's removing waste from the cells faster. But again, that takes energy, that takes cleansing. Yes?
Is yoga okay, or just like stretching? Is that too much energy?
Okay. Is yoga okay? We started out on beta test 4, where we had the elite athletes saying they could yoga. Little did I know about the heat yoga. The thing about it is, week 1 I would say no. Week 2 I would say light yoga and some walking. But week 1 definitely not. We do have a new program coming out called Tai Chi. That the low impact part of Tai Chi can be done in weeks 2 and 3. Yes. The retail on it, or the full price, is $229. I think coaches get a break. Yes.
Give me a challenge pack for 205.
205. There you go. I thought he was asleep over there.
Just woke up.
Talk a price.
Got it. We know what motivates him. Yes.
Can I still walk my dog in the morning at night?
Yeah. Is it a big dog? No. So, walking like that is fine. What happens is we've had enough experiences where we had one person said, "Can I walk?" I go, "Sure." He started doing 500-yard sprints. So again, light walking, just a little movement, and if you feel tired, stop. That's the biggest encouragement, particularly in week 1. Anybody, if you feel tired, don't fight it. If you need to take a nap, take a nap. Because your body is undergoing a tremendous amount of cleansing. It needs to rest and repair. You'll find too that you'll sleep deeper, have a deeper rest during the cleanse, because your body goes to that point where it needs to repair. Yes?
Can I piggyback on hers? I'm on my feet about 40 hours a week.
Okay.
Bartending. Is that a no-no?
No, that would be fine, but again, if you feel tired, there are 2 things you'll need to concentrate on. One is eat at the designated times. 2 is keeping your distilled water intake up. And if you feel tired, rest. Okay. Sit down or something. Change it up a little bit.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. First, my name is Casey, and I'm addicted to training, so this is going to suck.
I know. Okay.
But the question that's kind of burning in all of our heads, the person that almost dropped because they couldn't help but do P90X, was it Tony? Be honest.
No, it wasn't Tony. Tony is very interested in doing the cleanse because it is very vegan. I think he's probably going to be doing one in April. But it's a matter of, and I understand particularly this last group. This last group was 40. 35 were workout addicts. And it took a lot more coaching with them, talking them through it, okay? You're not going to fall off. But the surprising thing was their reaction 1 week after they came off the cleanse. I've never had these kind of results before working out. So once they saw the benefits, next time they do a 21-day cleanse, I think it'll be a little bit easier. But it's that first withdrawal. Yes?
How would people react to listening to people that aren't as healthy? You know, maybe not the athlete or
Yeah.
who have been working out.
The first 3 beta tests were on people that weren't that healthy. And results were phenomenal. The reason that we concentrated the 4th beta test on athletes was a question this gentleman raised. When we first say you can't work out, how do elite athletes respond? The university trial was done in New York State. It was completely ranged in age from 23 to 58. So we had individuals who are on meds, not on meds, men, women, overweight, that kind of, and again, the results were consistent and they were statistically significant. I would say in that study too, these were people who were going through their normal lives. Of the 50, we only had one that dropped in 21 days. And she dropped because of a death in her family, not from the cleanse. But her mother passed away. Yes?
In regards to, you said you had some patients who weren't healthy. Anybody who had like documented fatty liver or anything, you always tell them to work in the fat or anything like that.
Yep.
That actually had
Yep.
low.
Yes. I can't explain it. I will tell you this. I told you we were monitored through all our blood tests with a physician. Now, the company does not have access to those medical records, but the physician would sit down with us after the study and look at our before and after blood work. He told me mine was that of a 15-year-old.
Did they do any imaging just?
No. Yes. Yes. We actually found individuals with Crohn's because I was concerned about that. And that's why I was glad we had a physician monitoring us, because I asked him. He said, I think they'll do better. And they actually did very, very well. Yeah, I was concerned about that. We never had, we had a couple of individuals with Crohn's on a beta test. Physician said, he talked with them, looked at their medical records, and no, I think they'll do real good. Well, what I would say, what I can say is I'm aware of individuals with Crohn's on Shakeology not having any issues. Yep. Yep, like the lady that's a bartender. Yeah. There's going to be day 3 and 4. You need to schedule it where day 3 and 4 are your lightest days. No, all I'm saying is, in talking now with over almost 200 people who've been on, our natural reaction is we're tired and we fight through it. What I would say to you, if you get tired, you need to go sit in the truck and take a 15-minute nap. Do it. But I do know that days 3 and 4 typically are the ones that people are the tiredest. So if you normally sleep 4 hours, you may sleep 8 or 10 hours those days. But again, what happens is by day 5 and 6, your energy level is unreal. I'll tell you this. Day 7, after I slept, day 3, I walked 12 miles. You have that kind of energy. And it's not a jittery energy. It's just, I feel good and I want to go do it. And that's why I said, Tommy, individuals who may not have want to do a workout program, after they go through a 21-day cleanse, you feel so good, such natural energy. You want to do something. Yes? Uh-huh. Yeah, that'll be the worst. What I would suggest in your case is check with your physician, or we will have a doctor available to probably discuss it with you, Dr. Farzell. You may not be a candidate.
Please speak up when you're asking your questions so everyone can hear.
Okay?
So you talked about like enzymes systemically, that's from enzymes.
Yep.
Directly into your body. Do you take the enzymes separate?
Yes. The systemic enzymes are separate. They're in veggie caps. They're in veggie caps. Yes.
Those who are strength training on a regular basis, was there any loss of muscle?
None. I think that's because of the testosterone increase and also the increase in reps right after. I mean, I'm talking the day after, they're pulling more reps. Yes.
Supporting her, encouraging her, but with the leadership and what you came out, she does it all with withdrawals and all that kind of stuff. And this, I mean, it's certainly not causing her any further damage, obviously, but is this?
Well, with multiple sclerosis, any disease, I'd suggest you check with a physician.
And she's not doing it, she's doing it herself. But like I said, I'm skeptical of like, oh no, this is
No, I'd keep her on the tropical. Until we get,
She was skeptical of it, because she does all raw, she thought that was too processed.
none of it's processed. I mean, what I mean by no process. The sashinchi is, for example, harvested. It's dried under the sunlight, no heat is provided to it. The oil is squeezed out of it, and then it's freeze dried. So, I mean, it's processed, but it's not
Like what we did with process.
processed. It's minimal process. For example, we're looking at in the version that will be chocolate, we're looking at raw cocoa. Some of those kind of things. So, yes.
Can you address, one of the challenges we have right now with Shakeology, and we will have even more with this product, is the questions that will come up from people with diseases, right?
That's
Can you
good.
talk about the regulatory challenges that you
Okay.
put yourself into if you start advocating our products to cure
Yeah.
disease? You put yourself and the company at risk, and then you can talk about how to.
I think that's excellent, Brett, because I get that question 5 times or 6 times a week. I have X, or I have somebody that has X, can they take Shakeology? My answer is going to go back to you, and I'm sure some of you has. If there's disease state involved, they should check with their primary care physician. That is something you ought to just kind of right there, because that is the response. Here's the reason. That person may tell you, I've got diabetes. But at the same time, they may have osteoarthritis, be on Celebrex, they may be on antidepressants that you don't know about that may interact. The physician is the best one. Now, a lot of them will come back and say, well, listen, my physician doesn't know anything about anything. Now, what I would say, and it's not skirting the law, again, make that first statement, check with your physician. If the person has looked at Shakeology and said, I want to take it, then have them go to their physician and say, doctor, I've made the decision I'm going to use this. Will you help monitor me with it? Have the doctors buy it. And here's the reason. You go on Shakeology, either one, they drop 10 or 15 pounds in a month. They're diabetic. They may need the help of their doctor to adjust their insulin levels. So again, that's the way of doing it. Also, what I'll do sometimes if they say, well, I went to my physician and I told him that and he didn't want to hear it. I said, well, get another physician. I mean, I use the term knock on enough doors until you get the right answer. But again, that first one coming back, you have to say, because if you say, listen, though, how many of you saw that Dateline special last year about an MLM company where the owner was standing up saying, find cancer patients? Yeah. He'd been caught on tape. Find cancer patients in your community and sell this to them. I'm not going to be one that does that. Just, again, have them check with their physician. If their physician says, well, I don't want you to use it, but yet they've looked at Shakeology, they've talked with people that have on Shakeology, go to the doctor with a bag and say, doc, I'm going to do this, but I need you to help me. Maybe he needs to help monitor their cholesterol or their medication levels. But certainly do it with the help of a physician.
What about,
Go ahead.
sorry to interrupt, but this is important. What about claims relative, I mean, they're going to meet people who had conditions, claim, swear
Yeah.
that we said, or Shakeology,
Yes.
them
Right. Well, again, you may know somebody who, somebody may come to you and say, hey, listen, I had Crohn's disease, and I tried Shakeology, and I don't have it anymore. Thank you. Glad to hear that. Glad you got good results. But don't repeat it. Because that person may have been doing 3 or 4 other things that could have helped them. Be happy for them that they got good results. The only one that I slide a little bit on, it relates to the pregnant nursing women on Shakeology. I'll say if you're pregnant nursing on Shakeology, don't take it. Check with your doctor. But I also say, if my wife were pregnant or nursing, which thank goodness she's not, I'd probably let her do it. That's the only time I slip a little bit. But otherwise, if you hear 100 people that said it cured their osteoarthritis, be happy and thankful for them. that don't use that to sell product. And I'll add on that a little bit. I get a lot of requests, compare Shakeology to this, or compare Shakeology to that product. In 30-something years, I've never compared products. The reason for that, if my product is not good enough that I can defend it on its own, I don't need to be selling it. And that's just kind of the way it is, because it's mudslinging.
And he's developed half of the competitor's products.
So, but that's, okay. What are the typical questions? The health one, the pregnant nursing women, what do we have in development stage? We've got numerous products. I mean, you're going to see more products over the next 18 months than you've seen before. But realize they're going to be unique. Yes?
Going back to vegan, the tropical.
Yeah.
You said the sweetener was a coconut.
Coconut nectar sugar.
Is that from the actual coconut itself, or is that more? The reason why
Coconut itself,
Okay.
from Valley.
I have an allergy to coconuts.
Yeah.
So I was-
Yeah, it comes from the coconuts harvested by individual farmers on the island of Bali. I haven't gone there yet. Yes?
Getting back to the ultimate reset, it's 21 days. What's the methodology behind the 21 days?
That's the way Darren and Isabel worked it out. I mean, if we look at the physiology of it, week 1 you're giving up meat, week 2 you're giving up meat and dairy. So 2 weeks you're on vegan. Week 1 you're stabilizing your intake. Week 2 you're detoxing. Week 3 you're coming back. It's all wheat-free, all gluten-free.
So, but you're still offering dairy?
Yep. The only thing that I've traced back is it goes back to Daniel in Babylon. And he did a 21-day cleanse. I do read a little bit. I need God on my side. But that's the first one that I could find was he did a 21-day cleanse. But if you look at the physiology of the body, you know, I hear this saying you've got to have 28 days to break a habit. But if I look at that third, because when I told Carl a 21-day cleanse would never work, Darren says, well, it's not a 21-day cleanse, it's 3 7-day cleanses together. That makes sense. So it's different phases you're going through. Okay? Yes?
On either the reset or the tropical Shakeology, did you have anyone in it that had either fruit or vegetable sensitivities or allergies?
Yes.
And how did they react?
They went away. Not the participants, but the question was on either the reset or any of these tests we've done, have we had individuals had fruit or vegetable sensitivities, allergies? We had a handful on the first one. Their food sensitivities went away. So far, I've monitored them, and that was last February. They've not come back that I'm aware of. Yes.
Has there been any tests done with organ transplants?
None with organ transplants, although they suggest I have a brain transplant. No, there's a lot we haven't done. What we've done is we've established and done a university trial. But it's kind of like I taught with a lion and vitamin C. It may be 5 or 6 years before we look at all the different aspects of it that could possibly be applied. Yes?
This is kind of an odd thing, but that 10 years ago, side surgery says that I have a sense of smell.
Uh-huh.
After that, is this something that could possibly reset?
It's possible. The sense of smell, the sense of taste, the sense of sight are all escalated. I mean, to a point where in an office setting we have a number of cubicles, individuals have to put earplugs in because of their focus is so acute after this that background noise drives them crazy. I'm not saying it'll help, but I'm just saying.
I was thinking that
Yeah.
it was
Yeah, because I mean, in that first group of 15, we had one of everything God ever created. And we had a lot of observations. Nobody had good days all the time, but we did the sense of taste, smell, sight, and hearing across the board, at least by the end, was all noted. And I think part of it relating to your question about food sensitivity, the individuals that the food sensitivity went away adopted a different eating habits after the cleanse. I think that's the reason it didn't come back, because they were more attuned to a different type. Yes?
You mentioned before, of course, about referring people back to their physicians. Is there anything in particular that Beachbody as a company is doing to help educate the medical community about this?
We're beginning to do that. We've got some conversation going. We've got the 100 doctors, the university trial. I think particularly with the reset, there's going to be a tremendous amount of physician interest. So that's the reason we did it at not a medical college, but a chiropractic college. But we don't have a formal program going yet. I mean, until 2 years ago, we didn't have a chief science officer, so. Yes?
Got a question. With the ultimate reset, you're obviously giving them an opportunity over the next 21 days or so forth to change their diet. Is there going to be a follow-up, or is there a guide that people can use to continue to eat clean?
There's a follow-up. What to do after it's over.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's included in the
It's included in
the plan.
This is the most complete kit that you'll see. It's got the supplements, it's got the food guides, it's got a book in there, it's got DVDs, it's got what to do after, plus the whole website they've set up with it in support. They even tell me that they've got a phone application.
Wow.
Coach Challenge Group. But that, you know, it's exciting. I've gone over my time. I do apologize to Tommy. It's been a pleasure. I always like coming out. They don't let me out much. But I like coming out because I like interacting with all of you. I can be very smart in the ivory tower. But I like interacting, getting your ideas about products, your observations, your questions. They're all good. They're all helpful. And I enjoy that interaction because I enjoy seeing the people who actually use the products. You know, and I don't care if it doesn't taste good, tell me. And certainly, I like the good, the bad, and the ugly. So whatever you want to say, I'm open to it. It's been my pleasure. You've been very attentive, asked some great questions. Thanks a lot. Okay.
This product is going to roll out, and obviously coaches will be able to support their customers.
Yes.
So how exactly would that come into play? In other words, is there only certain coaches that will be allowed to sell it? Will you have to have a specific amount of time as a coach before you can sell it?
No, we've built a web experience that will really supplement coaching experience. So you'll get better at it having gone through it, right? So as everyone goes through it initially in April, hopefully, or early May, you'll have that experience. This is one of the reasons, one of the contributing factors of us coming up with the challenge groups, because we knew late last year, mid-year last year, that as we rolled this out, this was going to be a support-intensive product. And it really is. You really need to do it with individuals. You need to find 5 or 6 people, put them in a group with you, and support yourself. And so, challenge groups are an integral part of this product.
Will we have a coach have a chance to go through the program maybe before just the public market, or that's not part of it?
You can. It'll be available broadly. We're not selling this on air. It's available through the Coach Network only. So as a coach, I would actually start it with a group of customers or coaches. But if you're going to experience it, you ought to experience it with some other individuals. The website, we've documented a lot of people through these beta processes. The flip cam testimonials, daily testimonials are part of that. It'll be very helpful, and the website will be available in mid-March.
Before the doc takes off, I just want to say thank you.
You did great, you did great.